when I talk with them about setting up some sort of business structure. The first one is ease of use. When you're talking about sole proprietorships are very easy to use. A sole proprietorship is basically you going out and running a business. You're just kind of saying, I have an idea, I want to go out and do something. You don't have to register with the Secretary of State because you are governed by yourself. The state of Washington, the state doesn't provide any legal protection, so basically you're on your own. All you need to do is actually get a business license. You apply with the Bureau of Licensing with the Department of Revenue, which is in Tumwater, and then you also get a city business license with whatever city you're operating out of. And that's pretty much about it. And then if you need L&I, workers' comp, things like that, you deal with that at that point in time. But for all intents and purposes, you don't really need to register with the state, at least with the Secretary of State. Operating documents are necessary. Basically, again, you, sole proprietorship guy or gal, you're on your own. You make all the decisions. You're running it. You can run it however way you want to. So you don't need an operating agreement to describe structure, duties of the owners, things like that. Basically, you're just on your own. Because of that, no corporate formalities are necessary. The owners don't need to have meetings. They don't need to, have all these resolutions. Again, it's just you operating yourself as a business. So basically, sole proprietorships are extremely easy to use. You have an idea, you need to just run with it. You're a sole proprietor. The next level up is a limited liability company / LLC. LLCs, I think, are very easy to operate. The organization structure can be very simple. May only need to be managed and operated by its owners. And owners in this case are designated as members. All you need to do is file certificate of formation with the Secretary of State of Washington, and then go about and getting your business license, and you are an LLC. Operating documents aren't necessary. You don't need an operating agreement to describe the structure, duties, etc. An operating agreement in this case is basically analogous to bylaws of a corporation. If you know what bylaws of a corporation are, basically they're the internal rules of the business. And then, usually you follow those with a corporation as far as, having meetings and things like that. But with an LLC, you don't need to have one. Again, no corporate formalities are necessary. The owners don't need to have meetings. That's what state law says, you don't have to have meetings. So if you don't want to have a meeting, that's great. Now, and running an LLC can be simple. Don't need to file a separate tax return if you're the only person owning the LLC. So if you're the only person running the LLC, don't need to do payroll, don't need to do anything. You're it. So it can be very, very easy to operate an LLC. Now with corporations, they're much harder to operate. The organization structure is much more complex. You have to have shareholders. The shareholders are the owners. I mentioned that members are the owners of an LLC. With a corporation, the shareholders are the owners. And you also have to have a board of directors and officers to make the decisions. Now, shareholders are the owners of the corporation. The board of directors, in this case, are the big picture people. They have the vision for the firm, for the corporation. They have the direction. So they meet and decide this is where we want to take the business, over a 1 year, 5 year, 10-year horizon. Whereas the officers are underneath the board of directors, like your president, your secretary, your treasurer. They do the day-to-day operations of the business. They kind of keep things moving on a day-to-day basis. So you have a very structured system with the corporation. So because of that, operating documents are necessary. State law requires that you have to have bylaws to describe the management structure of the corporation and the duties of the directors and officers in running the corporation. You have to have that. That's Vice Code of Washington 23B.02.060 says that you have to have bylaws. And you must follow corporate formalities. Shareholders and directors must have annual meetings, at least annual meetings, every year to do something. The whole idea is to show that the corporation has a separate existence. And because of that, running a corporation, you have to file a separate tax return for the corporation. And if you have employees, and if you are a president or secretary or treasurer of the corporation, you are an employee of your corporation, you will need to report payroll and other taxes to the IRS. So running a corporation is much harder than an LLC or sole proprietorships.